Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Coast-to-Coast Combat Hour, brought to you by All Access MMA. Check out All Access MMA for our video, podcast, and MMA news and stories. I'm your host, Matthew Hawkins, and as always, joined by my co-host, Ed Carbajal. Ed, wild times, wild west of fight world
Yeah,
and craziness everywhere right now. No real big events this weekend to speak of. There is a UFC. Uh, ESPN Plus card. But we're basically going to take the time to catch up on just kind of what's been going on through the world of MMA Twitter and news and as much as we can. So, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. I mean, it's summer. We got what do they call? I mean, I think it traditionally it's called like an Indian summer when it's at like 70 degrees in November out here in the Northeast. So I love it. I know not everybody does because they want the foliage and all that bullshit, but I'll take a warm day any day of the week over freezing my ass off. Um, but I mean, November it's actually going to be popping in my area. I know we were talking about it before we started recording. Both the PFL and the UFC will be in Madison Square Garden this month. So fight fans have that to look forward to. Um, as far as like news that because we've had guests on recently, with Jillian the Champ on and uh our boy John talking about the Team Quest guys and everyone else we've had on as of late. We haven't had a chance to talk about all the news that's been going on. It's been like a month worth of stuff that we got to kind of catch up on, but good news first is like um last week you know our old asses fans of Pride Fighting Championship guys and anyone for that's been watching MMA and saw that whole era, um when Scott Coker and Chairman Sakaki Raba get back in business together, it's always fun. They announce their New Year's Eve card. I mean, I feel like Japanese MMA is kind of like a staple if you're a fight fan on New Year's Eve. I know you're one of those guys that tries to stay up and watch it live, but they're doing it New Year's Eve this year. It's gonna be like tape delay, but I don't give a shit. I still want to see it on New Year's Eve, my time on Showtime when they air that main card.
Oh, it's not going to be live. I missed the tape delay thing. I was just about to mention
I
that.
mean, they just said it at 8 o'clock, but like, I mean, New Year's Eve in Japan is not New Year's Eve here. You know what I mean? Like,
I was wondering actually, just looking at it. That's because it's funny you missed that because I'm pulled it up right
mhm,
now and it does say 8 o'clock Eastern time on New
mhm,
Year's Eve, and obviously there's a whole day difference between
mhm.
most, the United States and Japan. I was wondering if they were running two shows, maybe if this is going to be like actually running New Year's Day.
Yeah, like One
In
Championship does that with Amazon. They've been doing
Yeah,
that.
so I
Yeah.
don't know like if this is going to be the actual Rizin New Year's Eve show or if this is just Bellator versus Rizin,
Mhm,
perhaps on New Year's Day in Japan, which would then air on New Year's Eve here.
mhm.
I believe 5 p.m. my time is roughly like maybe like two in the afternoon. Like it's fairly early because it starts with the events that start at midnight my time are like I would assume 6 or 7 p.m. In Japan. So however that
Mhm.
math works, it would be possible to do something like that. So maybe Ryzen has its own New Year's Eve show. That obviously we'll have to wait and see. Otherwise, like you say, it'll be tape delayed, and I'll be looking for a way to watch it live.
Mhm.
Um, that'll be just too good to pass up. I mean, when you're getting the Ryzen versus Bellator, I mean, it's everything we've asked for as fans.
And
I know
it's
we
one of the dopest. Yeah, like if you look at the matchup, I know they have it on their website, but I'm looking for the press release because maybe I want to see if there's any specifics about
Well, I
the.
mean, the fans in the United States will be super familiar with Pitbull,
Mhm.
AJ McKee, Juan Archuleta, and Kyoji Horiguchi. That's the four representatives for Bellator. Obviously, Horiguchi's kind of a weird thing because he just left from Ryzen. But I mean, just those names alone is huge because Bellator's sending their best, fighting,
Mhm.
a former champ and a couple other guys that was it Kubo? It'll be the third fight with Horiguchi. Um, there's some really good fights on it.
You know what was
It's
crazy? Did you watch a press conference? The press conference when they did the announcement.
I didn't see that.
You should check it out because Hiromasa, the Ogikubu guy that's fighting Horiguchi,
Hmm.
he was not shy about he was not shy about losing to him twice and having legit beef with him.
I will definitely check that out. Yeah, Roberto de Souza,
He flat
the
out said, I hate his guts.
no, AJ McKee de Souza is a great fight. Roberto de Souza is a former
Mhm.
lightweight champion over there. Um, and the main event is Herbst, Kleber Herbst, 31-5, been around forever, fighting KSW, Pancrase, and Ryan Rizin, and they're kind of
And they're gonna
developing their
add a
league.
fifth fight. Like there's a fifth fight unannounced yet that they will be announcing soon. Maybe this weekend because I believe they have the. Is it this weekend that they have the Bellator? They had Bellator Milan last weekend. I'm sorry, I might be off my own. Hold on, I have their schedule up. Who? Sorry, November 18th is their next card, the Nemkov Anderson card. But yeah, because they had Bellator Milan last weekend, and that was like a daytime card. So I'm actually still catching up on that one. But yeah, man, this is the fact that they're able to do this, and they said that they're going to make it a regular thing again, at least to try to do it, at least every New Year's Eve or twice a year. I would think maybe when do they go to the Hawaii? I forget.
Usually December,
Yeah, oh,
early December.
so obviously maybe this is the first of many ventures that they're going to do co-promote. But listen, I'm going to read a quote from Sakaki Raba. Like he just said at this press conference. He says it's the first time the two promotions fully go at it, but it's not the first time. We know they've done stuff together
Hmm.
before, but he says we want to introduce a new way of enjoying mixed martial arts, and I think this now's the time to kind of pave the way for folks to stop this nut hucking of a certain promotion and kind of like we get to actually see the best of someone fight the best of someone else. And if this kind of catapults it, because I feel like one championship is game for something like this. Um, and if we can see like the like Mighty Mouse fight one of 135 or 125 pound fighter that's at the top of the heap in Rizin or Bellator. You know what I mean? I think it's time to start featuring fights like this versus the wash, rinse, and repeat that the UFC does every fucking weekend.
Yeah, I mean, we've stated it before.
Mhm,
It's hard. So basically, what you just said is what we've been as MMA fans been wanting for a long, long time. A company called Pro Elite or tried to one time do it when they bought Elite XC. They bought, I believe,
mhm,
Icon from Hawaii, King of the Cage. Like there was this big like
mhm,
conglomerate that came together, and it lasted all of about like two
mhm.
months or something like that because greed and
Yeah.
all that usually steps in. The hard part's that it's hard to deny that the UFC basically has the best fighters. I mean, that's the majority of the best fighters in every weight class. So that makes it a little bit harder to deal with when you're talking about bringing everybody together. But as far as just competition goes, as far
Mhm,
as like closing the gap on the outside and bringing everybody together for potential big cards, it's obviously there because there's certain fights that can be made cross promotion that will elevate the sport. You
mhm.
mentioned Mighty Mouse. There's a couple guys that one really needs to establish itself. I think one
Mhm,
probably is like a year away, maybe on Amazon if they have successful like half dozen events or eight of good. You need a little run of good events to get that chatter going. Um, well, we saw that one in the UFC, but
mhm.
obviously it would be a different fight now.
Yeah, they're both so much better now. Yeah.
Yeah, Sparky mentioned Horiguchi versus Mighty Mouse.
Mhm,
Um, but yeah, I mean, obviously now would be at a slightly different weight class. There's a lot to factor in at that, but there's just so much. I mean,
mhm,
and when you throw in, you know, that the UFC or Bellator still has Cyborg, they still have Fedor. Those are a couple cool names that you could mix in on a Japanese card and really elevate it.
yeah.
So
And the fact that they're doing it though, like I said, it's baby steps still because like as MMA is finally popular enough that you have a bunch of fucking NFTs and meme guys and all these fucking Twitch nerds and shit that are into it now and doing their whole fucking thing. But it's big enough now that now they can start playing with stuff like this. And it's at the point like shout out to our boy at combatsportslaw.com, Eric McCracken. He was doing some stuff on just like commissions and pitching the fighting foundation to stuff. Just looking at who'll listen to him about brain health and stuff. Especially with the news of the slap fighting league getting added to the Nevada's list of fight sports, which we're going to get to in a minute. But just him doing that, he stumbled across Colorado looking to approve a one championship event sometime in 2023, at least in that first or second quarter. He saw on their calendar, and then Damon Martin, verified that. So, but it was just because Eric McGracken, he's on his soapbox about brain health. He stumbled across that and put that news out there on Twitter. So that just goes to show you that like there's a demand. The demand, if it's not there where we want it to be anyway, it's opening up to the commissions to say like, all right, maybe let's all get in on the fight business. But there's only so much versions of fighting that you can really call true competitive combat sports, and the fact that the silly part of it is the slap was it slap fight league that Dana White started? Slap boxing? What the fuck's it
I think
called?
it's Slap Fight League. It was it. Yeah.
Now listen, when I see that, and I know you like to get into some pretty weird shit but I mean, are we on the same page with that? Like that's not even on our radar. Fucking slap.
Okay, so here's where it is on my radar. Like on YouTube, I'll check it out because it kind of makes me laugh a little bit, and like it has its moments of like hilarity more than anything for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and my stance on it is, if two dudes want to go to a competition and slap each other, I'm perfectly okay with that. What does confuse me as just somebody trying to be realistic is how something like this would really get sanctioned, because there is no
Shenanigans.
all it is concussion. There's no
Mm-hmm.
it would be like a football if you just said we're just going to line guys up and go head up on the line and just crash into each other
Mm-hmm.
nonstop for 60 minutes and then
Mm-hmm.
see how many linemen can still stand up at the end of it. That would be, and if anybody takes that, I want credit for the football without the football, but you know, it's just so weird that that's
Mm-hmm.
it. There's very little to it, and it seems
Like
like
yeah, there's no competitive aspect to it, and that's what again that was what McGracken was citing, and now you have other Brian Sutterer, who's a doctor, talking. He just did a whole video on his YouTube channel. If you don't follow his YouTube channel, he's another one you should check out because he covers injuries like Qatar's knee that blew out this weekend, and heel hook from EBI. Like he does go over some serious MMA injuries and give you some insight on them. And he saw that, and again, he's another one scratching his head. I think who else wrote an article on it where they spoke to a doctor that was like, it's not safe at all. There's no competitive aspect. I don't understand how commission would greenlight it. But I mean, again, at the end of the day, especially when you look at where it's happening and you look at the stuff that happened with uh where was with the way in the where they changed everything happens in their own hometown in Nevada.
oh
Like
yeah.
everybody gets a piece of the financial pie there. So if they found a way to circulate business, it's just easier to get weird shit done. And so it's no wonder that I don't see any. I don't because of the pushback. I probably don't think it's gonna get sanctioned elsewhere. But if it's just there, then they're gonna corner the market and have all these fucking giant people slap the shit out of each other until somebody probably fucking dies from it. Because those guys aren't small that are slapping the shit out of each other. Like some of those guys are, like Brock Lesnar sized people, and they're just standing there letting someone hit them as hard as they can without trying to evade, block, or it's like literally, who falls down first and can't get up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the rules are per se, but a slap can become an open palm strike really, really quick.
Yeah.
And if anybody watched the old Boss Rutan stuff, you can see kind of what catching your palm,
Mm-hmm.
using the butt of your palm to hit somebody can
Oh, there's
can do.
guys there to catch them. They're not gonna hit their heads. That's
Listen, I'm all for it. That's the weird thing. Like you want to do it, great. You want to do it and put it on YouTube, great. I will never judge you. I don't even care. But it's just weird to me that a commission that claims to be like an athletic commission would be so free and open to it, because there's really no limit at this point. Like, could you are we just gonna get people beaten to people with fish? I mean, like it's like there's anything that can happen now.
Yeah, like giant slap fish.
It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
giant frozen fish. We're just gonna start bashing each other in the head and see who can last the longest. I mean, there's really such little. There's no sport to it. You don't have to be an athlete. You have to have a chin, and you got to have a chin. That's what the winner of the sport is. Whoever can take the slap. You really don't. I mean, I don't even know
Mm,
if you really have to dish one out very hard if you just can take it. Do you lose by points, or is it
mhm.
just is there a judges? I heard there was 3 rounds. So if both dudes stand through 3 rounds, do they like? Is there like PFL slap? You know, slap pressure or pounds per square
Who
inch of
the
the
hell
slap,
knows?
or what? It's just so weird. But
Yeah.
it's just weird that it'd be okayed. And like you said, I don't know if somebody's gonna die from it like right there, but
And I don't, yeah, we don't
it's
want
just
that,
free.
but
It's just free
yeah.
knockouts, and it's just it seems it's like the most bottom of the barrel thing that you would expect out of a smaller commission in somewhere in this country that really just is the old like they'd have no money. So like,
Mm,
okay, we might be able to make a couple bucks, we get it. But the
yeah.
Nevada Commission, I mean, there's more events that want to happen in Nevada that they'll even
Mhm.
legalize or even sanction, and to allow that's kind of wild. But you know, it is what it is. What else? What else? So we had Anderson Silva, Jake Paul this weekend,
Yes.
boxing fight match. Um,
Speaking of brain health, yeah.
we
Yeah.
didn't do picks. We didn't, I went back and forth on it. We talked, uh, I think the outcome. I mean, obviously, anybody that didn't watch or hasn't somehow been under a rock, Jake Paul won by decision. He dropped Anderson Silva in the 7th round, I believe. I don't think it was the last round, but it was definitely late in the fight. Um, was pretty much won. In my opinion, like 5, 6 of the 8 rounds. Um,
Mhm.
that's the way I saw it. I know there was some disagreement. Uh, Anderson Silva's older. We weren't really saying
Mhm.
that before the fight. I know it was getting mentioned, but I, I think there's a little bit of crow to be ate by some people.
Mhm.
Um, and that might be me and you. We joked about this from the beginning, but all I can say is, dude, the dude, Jake Paul went out there, won. He's obviously training. We've given him credit for that.
Yeah.
He comes in shape. He does his thing, and he's winning. He
Yeah.
won. There's
Well,
not much else you can say really to
no, I'm
bash the guy other than he doesn't fight high-ranking pro boxers.
yeah. Well, the thing is though, like my thing with, I mean, he tried to do that. I mean, not high ranking, but you know,
Legit
yeah, like people
professional
called
boxer.
for him, like Dana White was the one that was like, okay, fight Anderson Silva. Okay,
Mhm.
nah. So he did, and he won. And before that, people were like, oh, you're fighting all these older MMA guys. Why don't you fight a real boxer? And he tried to do that, but they all did what, unfortunately, what the bad side of boxing is, getting fights made. And he had Tommy Fury. Tommy Fury couldn't get in the country because the whole Kinahan, connection with his Tyson Fury and all that bullshit. Then he tried to get an alternate, and the guy that was here that he could have fought did what boxing does on the negotiating side, and fucked around about weight and all this stuff. And here Jake Paul was just ready to fight, and he was very adamant about it when he put his social media post, that he was just like, this is exactly why boxing gets the hate that it does, because of shit like this. Like, here I am ready to go, and you guys are asking me to fight a boxer, and now I can't. I'm ready to fight a boxer, and no boxer can get can get to me. That and so I mean, I give him credit. Like, I know he kind of gets his following off of trolling and stuff like that, but he's trying to do what folks are calling him out to do. And I mean, the positive side of it is, if MMA fighters are more willing and easier to step to the plate and get a payday off of it and risk, you know, getting knocked out badly or losing, but he beat, like you said, he beat. If fights Prime Anderson Silva, it's obviously not the same fight, but he still fought a 47-year-old game Anderson Silva, and we got what he got. The knockdown. I mean, when I watch, people are trying to say it's fixed or whatever. I didn't see that. What I saw was a misstep, and Anderson, with that weird head movement, he was just off balance, and it looks like a knock, because people were saying how it didn't really connect. But watch his foot, you'll see that he's like standing on one toe of that boxing shoe, and the way he swerved his head, he just kind of knocked himself down, so to speak. So it was still him trying to box a younger man, and went the distance, whatever. What I did like about it too is like there was no fucking beef, like there was no
Hmm.
bullshit, no trolling, and they're dancing together in the meet, like there was some sportsmanship there, and he respected Anderson Silva, and they're supposedly want to do things to help, doing a fighters foundation to kind of help like with them with health care and stuff like that. So if that comes out of this, then you know do more of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, there was respect. There was some laughs. I know I thought it was just going to be kind of fun, and that's kind of what it turned out to be. Now, here's another thing. It was a great fight. Like
Mm-hmm.
for what it was, if you want to call it like a kind of a circus sideshow
Yeah.
fight, it's probably the best circus sideshow fight we've ever had. You had
Mm-hmm.
two guys who really fought well. And I think we just need to acknowledge that Jake Paul is taking this seriously, and
Mm-hmm.
he's athletic. He was a wrestler. It's not like this isn't like some softball dad coming off the couch to do this. He was a younger kid who took it on, and he's being successful. Again, he's not fighting the best of the best, but they're really. I mean, I don't know if he should be. Like why can't he just be this? What he is, and I don't know. I just think whatever. If people are getting paid, it's done legally. You
Mm-hmm.
got referees in there. Nobody's getting. I mean, he dropped Woodley. Woodley got knocked out bad, but it's
And the thing of it is, like, I think a lot, and I know we've said this before, but like, he's young and he's got the money and the time to put into training to bring those types of fights to Woodley. Yeah, he's getting these guys that are once were champions, and Joe Rogan brought it up recently where he was like, yeah, the UFC got Ben Askren when he was already having issues with his hip, and then he had to have the hip surgery. All that stuff happened. Like you didn't get the prime Ben Askren that was wrestling people to death, and same thing with Woodley that was literally like you know doing things better than him. And I remember him and Usman had that thing like who did it better when they fought
mhm.
Damian Maya. You didn't get that version of Woodley. You got the Woodley that was kind of complacent with where he's at in his career and stuff like that. So and if you think about it, like think about the guys, go back to MMA, like early days of MMA. BJ Penn. BJ Penn, he had some money, so all he did was train, and we got the legendary fighter that most folks know, when he was in his prime. And in a sense, that's kind of, if you're looking at Jake Paul as a boxer and what he's doing with boxing, he all he's got is the money and the time to put into training, and let's not be surprised if he's actually growing as a boxer. I mean, I know folks were saying, "Oh, it's like wow, it was like watching a sparring match," but if he's getting these paydays out of putting on a live sparring match, who's gonna hate on him for it? You know.
Dude, I mean, I didn't see a live sparring match. I saw two guys that the first round was slow as
Mm-hmm.
hell. But like, let's not act like Anderson Silva hasn't done that a half dozen times in MMA.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then Anderson did his dancing around. I mean, it's just he doesn't have 4-ounce boxing gloves on. Perhaps if he's wearing 4-ounce gloves, he does the little hand
Mm-hmm.
wand, reverse thing, and pops him, and it's different. He's got boxing gloves on. He's Jake Paul's a big dude. This
Yeah.
is so
Yeah, he's
it's
young, he's strong, and yeah.
yeah, he doesn't have the brain damage that from competition that these other, not that brain damage is the right word, but he doesn't have the wear and tear on him, that a lot of these guys have. So, he's able to take some, punishment. He took some hits. I think
Mm-hmm.
there was a round when Anderson was winning, he was winning. He was
Mm-hmm.
he was keeping busy and he was putting pressure on, and he, Anderson's never had one punch knockout, power. He knocked out Tito Ortiz, but you know, he knocked out old Tito
Mm-hmm.
Ortiz.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So I don't put too much into that. I think Tommy Fury's kind of a joke, if I'm being honest. Like everybody's like he needs to fight a boxer. Well, Tommy Fury's like I'll be the guy. Like I need to be the gatekeeper between Jake Paul fighting YouTubers and MMA fighters and being real boxers. How
Mm-hmm.
about you have a real career and you go for something else rather than wanting to fight a guy who's only fought MMA guys? I think that
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of funny. I mean, just come out and say you want the money and but there's no go fight somebody else. As Tommy Fury, I mean, I know he fought our boy Anthony Taylor, and he's fought a couple, but has why isn't he fighting
Yeah,
anybody
to a
good?
decision too. Like not for nothing. That was like I think that was Anthony Taylor's like first pro
I think it
boxing
was his
match or
pro
something.
debate. Yeah, I think it was his pro
Yeah,
debut.
and he
You
still
know,
went to the decision to him. Like it wasn't. It's not like he knocked him down. You know what I mean? Like it's.
it's just weird to me that like he's the like go call out a real boxer. They're going
Hmm.
after Jake Paul, but what about Tommy Fury's like only fight he wants is Jake Paul? I'm going, that's kind of strange to me. So
Yeah, yeah.
I think he's coming off kind of clown on that. But
Mm.
on a more positive subject, our favorite Doc Lucas, texted
Hmm.
me the other day and let me know that the South Carolina Athletic Commission has officially approved open scoring for the state of South Carolina and bare knuckle combat. Um, I don't know about bare knuckle MMA, but certainly bare knuckle fighting. And as a result, it took about 8 hours or so. BYB, the
Hmm.
Trigon, Data 5000 and the boys are bringing the Trigon to South Carolina on December 9th for the for the first event. So Doc Lucas did it. We
Yeah.
asked him for it, and
I
you know,
wonder if they're gonna try to do because you saw like around the same. I don't know if it was the same day. It was definitely the same week. They announced that bare knuckle Muay Thai fight between um Senchai and the
and Bukwa.
yeah. So I don't know if they're gonna try to add that because that would be pretty big. I mean, that's a pretty big fight.
I think that's going to be BKFC Thailand though.
Yeah,
I
that
think
makes
that
more sense. Yeah,
That's I think that's I don't think they're bringing those guys into the United States. I
because
don't know
they
what.
announced it with no like venue. I mean, that again, this was weeks ago because we're playing catch up over here with all the guests we
Oh,
had. But yeah, I mean that would be. I mean, if yeah, it makes more sense to be BKFC Thailand. Um, one thing about so now you have like folks doing more open scoring. Where Doc Lucas is, and where who does it? Kansas is like the Kansas, Colorado, and now we can add South Carolina to like folks that are trying to do innovative things in combat sports. I'm wondering how long it's going to take for like the major like fight states like Nevada. I mean, we can say New York because of boxing, and the Mecca and blah blah blah. All that sort of is kind of I guess still true. Um,
I
if
would
they're
be
ever going to
curious.
pick it up.
I'm assuming, this is assumption, but I'm assuming that just because you can do open scoring doesn't necessarily mean you have to.
Yeah, that's always been the yeah.
Okay, so it's optional because I was going to say that might be something that persuades somebody, not the UFC or somebody, to avoid those states. If it,
Hmm.
but so it's not necessarily the rule; it's an option
Yeah,
to
because I
combat.
forget someone did it there not so long ago, and they announced I forget who it was, but they opted not. Even though it was an option, they chose not to do it, and I forget if it was I forget who did it. Someone not so long ago. I don't know if it was one of the shows that Wheelock worked, so it was something in Kansas. It couldn't have been Triad. I don't remember who, but
Hmm.
yeah, but that's how that came out. Like they have the option, but the promoter, it's the promoter's discretion whether or not they use it or not.
Okay, cool.
You would hope that they would because it looks like it's well received amongst fighters and folks that have been using it. I don't mind it. I mean, I thought I would mind it as I watch the events. I enjoy it. Um, but we'll see, man. I mean, I hope with that being out there and the that brings more work to Doc Lucas's way because the Carolinas are they're not bad to visit. I've been to North Carolina, so they're nice. They're nice at certain times of year. I do want to kind of just to go back to the Bellator Rizin thing we were talking about. The evolution of the sport and stuff. You kind of mentioned it when we had Jillian on last week. Josh Thomson put out that I think when I talked about it with my editor over at my MMA News. First of all, I told him I agreed with Thompson, and he was like, "But he worded it poorly," and I know what he meant by that because Thompson asked MMA media, "Are you going to promote this event?" And that's where it's the funny thing is all the people that chimed in them that to say we're not promoters and blah 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 are also the people that are guilty of literally riding the UFC's fucking nutsack all the time. Um, and so he didn't mean to say promote. I almost wanted to reach out to him to try to get him on here, but with the timing and trying to do everything, I was just like, you know what? If I'll bring it up next Bellator event I cover, hopefully in December. If I get to Mohegan Sun in December, I'll just ask him straight up and like record it or something. But like, whatever he meant to say. But you know, I he kind of said, "What are you afraid you're going to lose your UFC credential?" And all the folks that were like attacking him were kind of just like, "Oh, we don't promote events, and we're not afraid. We're not afraid using it." But not for nothing. Literally at the beginning of the same month, all of you motherfuckers got your credential pulled for one weekend, so that Mark Zuckerberg could sit cage side and watch an event, and nobody said shit about it. Not only did you not say shit about it, you fucking ate that shit, and literally were like, "Okay, we'll just come back next weekend," and not ever bring it up and ask why, or no one said anything about it. Like, why did you do that to us? How come you didn't mention it when we asked? And then, it was allegedly for some meta. Oh, Dana White flat out said, "Oh, Mark Zuckerberg didn't rent the thing," but I mean, everybody clearly saw different. People were like, "Oh, just, they're testing meta," but that was tested at an LFA event the week after. So what the fuck was being tested there that you shitheads couldn't get to the event? You know what I mean? And then you're gonna say Josh Thompson's talking out of his ass about you. Like, you literally all got your credential pulled, and then they gave it back to you, and you just said thank you, and took that. So and here you go, giving them their trash to cover their events like they give a fuck about you. You know what I mean? Like it's just stupid. Like that's why I literally you see I the last if it's on ESPN Plus and at the Apex and I got something else going on a Saturday night, I'll fucking do that. I mean, my I prefer Bellator, regional MMA, the stuff I do for Spectation Sports and my MMA news. Everything you see me write about lately, that's what I like to do. So I just wanted to put that out there because I mean, fucking what do the kids call them? Simps. You fucking simping for the UFC, fucking thirsty asses, whatever the hell you want to call it. It's fucking corny already, dude. It's we you and I privately say it a lot, but I like it's hard to keep me fucking interested in what's going on in the UFC these days.
No, I brought it up on the when I was a guest on another podcast that to some major media guys that I thought most of the media was in the pocket of the UFC, and I mean I've made I've talked about it ad nauseum, about UFC fans. There's UFC media and then there's MMA media. There's
Mm-hmm.
guys that cover both. Guys like Nolan King cover both. There's
Yeah.
guys, that and he extensively covers Bellator,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not the same group of guys. There's a crossover of like two guys, three guys, if their events are on different weekends. But if there's a Bellator event and there's a UFC event, even if it's just a small UFC event and a major tent pole Bellator event, there's more people at the small UFC event
Mm-hmm.
covering it for media. And promotion is maybe not the right word, but I think it's also kind of being a little bit I don't even know what the word is. Kind of ignoring like the elephant in the room that like promotion is through these articles and tweets. That's how most people know about the event because of Brett Okamoto tweeting about it, not because of any other reason. Like not because of what Dana White says. If everything Dana White says is promoted by these people who retweet what he says, it's
Mm-hmm.
exactly what it is. I mean that you're
Mm-hmm.
promoting the tweet, so
Yeah,
you're
it's
promoting the
it's
event.
trending because you fuckers are talking about it.
Yes,
Yeah.
and but does ESPN promote? So ESPN
Mm.
obviously owns a lot of the UFC or their video,
The
or
broadcast
their
rights. Yeah.
broadcast rights. Can they talk about Bellator? Because that's the people he's also talking to.
Mm-hmm.
If Bellator got ESPN stuff, if we saw AJ McKee, if we saw those Aaron Pico, if we saw those guys getting interviewed by Stephen A. Smith, I think Bellator would be in a much better place than it is right now. So there is some promotion that comes from these people.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest name, the big Ariel Helwani does a good job of spreading it around. We for all the criticism we've had of him, he at least talks to everybody.
Yeah.
You have a couple people that do that are the influencers of MMA media.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it just doesn't seem like you go nowhere near the same coverage. And I understand you're going to go where the money is. I kind of get it, but don't also get so defensive
Mm-hmm.
that like it's the truth. Just say, yeah, I'm in it for the money. I'm in it for the money, and the money's where the UFC is, and
Yeah. Yeah.
that's where I'm going to go. But don't be like, oh, I covered Horiguchi's whole run in Rizin when you never even tweeted about anything that's ever come out of Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So just don't be offended by it. We're all, if you just like the UFC, if you're a UFC fan, if that's what you watch, great, enjoy it. It's your thing. But don't when an MMA fan goes like, "Hey, dude, there's a lot of good fighters out here that you're
Mm-hmm.
missing out on." Don't try to lecture him about how Josh Koscheck's an all-time top five welterweight or something like that. We don't need to hear it. It's stupid. We all live through this. We all watch it. We can see the videos. We can see who's out there fighting. You
Mm-hmm.
don't need to try to fake what the reality is when it comes to who the best fighters are. Just because the cage says UFC, I can watch a fight that says Bellator, KSW, and go, yeah, those guys are just as good. And if you can't do that, then you're a simp or a shill or whatever the heck you
Whatever the
know
fuck that means.
whatever that
I
is.
don't know
But
where I heard that word like a while ago. This past year I've heard some guys that chase after chicks or whatever they call them simps or whatever. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck it means, but if that means you're just kind of like thirsty for the attention of some chick or whatever, then that's pretty much what all those people that are literally make it and their whole thing to follow and take whatever the UFC throws at them. Whether it's fucking fuck off this weekend and come back next weekend. Because like the
I
one
mean,
dude,
yeah,
I forget, one dude was like even said to him when they were like, "You guys can have off this weekend." And Bellator put out that tweet: "If you guys have nothing to do this weekend, you can come cover our event." Like, I don't know how many people took that
I walked
invitation.
I walked by Media Row and there was like, let's say that throw out,
Mm,
let's say there's 20 chairs, 20 seats,
that's right, you were there. Yeah,
uh, 7 people maybe
yeah,
somewhere in that neighborhood.
yeah.
And the same, like I said, Josh Gross was there because he's not allowed to go to
But what
UFC
the one
events.
guy was like,
You know?
the Mac Life dude was like, we can work, and he was like, no, take off. And the fucking guy just like, oh, okay, then I'll whatever you say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
So,
listen. It's just there's so many things. We just sat
hmm
here talked about 5 different promotions during this podcast. There's a lot going on.
hmm
If you're a fan of fight sports, there's a ton going on.
yeah, follow the
If
sports, cover the
Yeah,
sport, not just
yeah, and yeah. That's I'm talking about from a fan
yeah,
perspective too, because you see it all the time, and it's like, dude, we get it. Like I watch more. I don't miss Bellator. I don't miss BKFC. There's certain things I just don't miss because
yeah,
I find them a little bit more. I'm more interested in their fighters' stories right
same
now.
here, yeah,
And it allows me some time to enjoy it. I feel like the UFC with the constant every week, for me at least, it just becomes like just a collage as opposed to like a photo.
hmm
Like Bellator's a photo for me. Like I can remember who won the last event.
yeah.
And the Milan event's kind of an off one, but the last big American UFC
But
event.
that's the thing. Like, I still need to see all those fights. Like, I have it
Uh-huh.
queued up
Uh-huh.
on my,
I
you know what I
watched
mean?
it. I watched it.
Like,
I just can't remember how to pronounce everybody's name that fought,
yeah.
but I watched it. Piccolotti lost the main event, you know. But not to spoiler. um, but
Well, no, I know by now, but I still like want to see the fights because I know that Bansuri, I can't pronounce his name, Bansuri, whatever his name is.
uh-huh.
Apparently, he fucking showed out really well,
Mhm.
and I want to see those fights. I only watched up there's two of the prelims left that I have to watch before I finish watching that card. Um, but I'm more interested in catching up on that than I can just turn on Twitter and watch the highlights from every UFC event. And yes, it's cool. Again, the thing is, it's a double edged sword because you can't bash the UFC. It's because of their growth. And I think I wrote about this in one of my newsletters lately. But it's because they're so big that we can see all these other promotions and fights happen. They led the way and they deserve all the credit in the world, but like I just don't like they've gotten to a point now that whole thing with banning media and fighters, family and friends or whatever to put on a show for this guy like he was fucking Joaquin Phoenix and Gladiator. I forget the Commodus was the character's name. That was just a little bit. I don't like shit like that. Like I've always
Yeah,
been the guy. Like even when I was into pro wrestling, in Monday Night Wars, I was a WCW guy. I wasn't a WWE or F guy. And even now, like I'd prefer. We talk about it. I watch AEW. I still don't want like that's just been the way I am. If everybody's gonna be fucking chasing something, I don't chase that shit. I chase the other shit because it's
yeah,
the same and it's probably better and not as washed in whatever weird goggles folks are looking at
yeah.
it in.
But to be fair, like you've paid your dues to the UFC. You've wrote hundreds of articles about UFC events, UFC
Mhm.
fighters. You've put in your time, so you have just as right. Anybody watching the video podcast to see that I'm sitting in a room of MMA memorabilia. I've spent, I don't even, just ungodly amounts of money on UFC events in my life. So I feel like I have the right to, nobody can go, hey, well, you're just a shill for Bellator. Like, no, like I'm literally, my life has been UFC for 25 years, but I also can call them out when like we're just getting watered down stuff.
Mhm.
They're sucking up the regional scene by putting on their own events. Um, and getting back to MMA media, they get 99% of the coverage. On ESPN, they might even get 100%. Like
Mhm.
maybe if there's a big knockout in Bellator, it makes the top 5 plays of the day or something. But you never get like a championship recap. You never
Yeah.
get, hey, like so and so defeated so and so for the world title in Bellator. You never get that. So that it doesn't scroll. They don't even put it across the bottom of the screen. So is ESPN a promotion company? No, but if they decide to promote your event, then they certainly are. They become one real
Yeah.
quick. So that's the thing. But and I, and I
Well,
hope I hope the media guys that know we love them don't take this too much to heart and know that can at least criticize
hey,
some
they
of
all know me,
their
and
code.
some of them see me face to face. So if I mean, they're welcome to say something to me if they want to. But I'll tell them the same thing in front of them. But I mean, most of them. The thing is, I know the guys that I'm cool with are also kind of on the same page.
Yeah, no, I
So
get it. I get it. I get it. Plus, instead of a blue check mark, you got a black belt now on your Twitter account.
yeah, I didn't realize that you can put emojis on the end of your handle. So I was like, fuck a check mark, which I never wanted anyway.
Uh
But
huh.
I'm like, you guys can fight all the people that are getting all stupid over a freaking symbol on your social media page. Put something you like there. Like, you know what I mean? Just put something you like there. But really quick, I just talking about one championship and other promotions. The when we were talking about fighters to watch, remember how we did that like the year end thing, and I mentioned Rene Derrida was like the one that I wanted to like really
Uh huh.
see shine. One championship just announced for one on Prime Video 5. Again, I mean, talking about shilling out. We are an Amazon affiliate, so if you don't have Prime Video, use our link to sign up for Amazon Prime. But they just announced for one on Prime Video 5, DeRitter's going to try to go for his third title against the heavyweight world champion at one championship, Anatoly Malikin. And that's going to be December 2nd on a Friday night on Amazon Prime Day. If you haven't watched this dude fight, I'm telling you, the guy is. I hope if he gets 3 titles in one championship, like somebody, uh, these media folks that we were just talking shit about, you better start talking about this dude because this guy is like he's my favorite, like big heavyweight fighter as far as like heavier fighter goes. He's one of my favorites, and I said at the beginning of the year, and like when I saw that announced, because I know he was supposed to be on this card coming up this month, Prime Video 4, and I wondered why they took him off, and they took him out, and they put Daniel Kelly and the Sambo chick as part of that card, and I was like, that's a weird swap, and then they made this announcement today, and I was like, man, if this guy wins, like you really, I mean, then they're coming again. They're supposed to come to the U.S. next year. This dude is gonna if he can keep making, he's undefeated too. It's fucking crazy.
Is Daniel Kelly, is that grappling, or is she
Yeah,
MMA?
submission, no submission only.
Okay.
Which if you haven't watched those are on Amazon Prime too. The Ruotolo brothers or Mike Musumeci, um, all those guys are like are putting on displays for if you haven't like watched competitive grappling, they've just done some really amazing things. Homeboy Kevin Nicholson got an injury comment. Let's bring that up on the screen here. Quick injury comment. TJ is facing his second shoulder surgery. Unstable shoulders are notorious for remaining unstable once you get to a second surgery. Bad news for a fighter in his mid 30s. Oof. Yeah.
You know, I I've stated a million times he's one of my favorite fighters that I
Mm-hmm.
watched in the UFC. I was not happy that he went out there and fought with the shoulder like that. I thought that was extremely selfish.
Uh-huh.
Um, as far as just him collecting money. I know he said today he doesn't have to fight for money, but there's no other reason why you would fight Aljamain Sterling with one shoulder, essentially half your body.
Yeah.
I and as a fan, I definitely step back and I'm like, dude, like just retire. Like
Hmm.
if you've got the money, you tell me you've got the money, like just retire. Like I don't want to see that again. And God forbid because if he comes back, the UFC is going to put him in a co-main or main event,
Hmm.
and we get 10 seconds into a fight again, and it pops out again. At that point, you're stealing people's money. You're selling.
Yeah.
You're selling wolf tickets when it comes to a fighter. If he's that
Yeah.
injured and he can't keep
And
his shoulder in, it's
and
stupid that he's out there or even trying to fight.
and it kind of like, I mean, as the guy that picked Aljo to win, and a fan of the boy, it kind of fucks with his legacy too. Like it seems like every win he gets, you got people telling him, oh, but his shoulder was hurt. Oh, but this happened. It's like, come on, man. Now they're looking to see what they're talking about, bringing Henry Cejudo back to fight Sterling now. And Henry Cejudo's, he's been out for a while. I mean, I forget what the other. Oh, and Sean O'Malley. Like even Sterling said, he told TMZ News, like if I had my pick, the money fight is Sean O'Malley, because that's what's going to bring more eyeballs to the event. But competitively, Henry Cejudo's the fight that he wants, and we know, you know, Sterling is put that generation of fighter that he's using his head and he's thinking about his future, that he's weighing those options out. And obviously the money fight would be the more money you win, the more money you can invest in your future. So it's it's
I I respect that,
mm-hmm,
but he's not active enough. He's talking about taking a ton of time off, and he makes excuse about champions only fight once, maybe twice if they're lucky. I saw a breakdown of that. That was totally wrong. The average champion fights a little over 2 times a year,
mm-hmm,
based off of not a calendar year, but over 12 months. It's 2 times is like well above, as well the average. Um, and I don't think he's won enough to be able to like. Yeah, I agree with you. I think TJ robbed him of a chance to have a legitimate win. A lot of people see the yawn wins as a bad decision and acting. That's just the way people see it. I'm not even saying
mm-hmm,
that that's completely my opinion on it, but that's the way people see it. Um, so to me, like a lot of people don't seem to have any credible wins. So who are you to kind of hold this division up? You're early on in your career. You're not old. I respect wanting to make money and make smart business decisions, but
mm-hmm.
you can do that without the title. I mean, this is a championship of the division. You know, the minute he loses that belt, nobody should give him a rematch if this is how he's going to take every step of his championship. Is I'd go, no, dude, I'll fight the 10th ranked guy. I'm not going to fight you again. You don't get a rematch. And then then he'll be screaming and bitching and moaning about not getting his fair shot at his title back. And I just
Hey, I mean, not for
no.
nothing, there was a time he was getting overlooked though. Like when he was winning, and he won.
I
I remember when he went out to fight Dominic. He wanted to fight Dominic Cruz, and you know what I mean. When he was coming back off of that knockout to Moraes, I was kind of like, there was that point when they did the submission of the year, and he did the same Suluev stretch in the same event as whoever the other guy was, and they were giving it to him, and I was just like, yo, I don't like why can't Aljo get any love, man? I mean, again, you know, I 6 degrees of
yeah.
separation, from, but
I get it. I get it. And I don't even want to like, I hate getting too much into it because I don't really want to bash the guy. Like, I totally understand what he's doing. However, when he talks about being overlooked and then he starts overlooking people, it's kind of like, dude, like, yeah, like, so if you get overlooked again, just don't complain about it. If Cejudo beats you by some crazy decision, then no, you don't get a rematch. Cejudo's going to fight Sean O'Malley.
mm,
And then he's going to fight Peter Yan, and then he's going to fight Sandhagen, and then he's going to fight Song, and Aljamain, you can win. If you want to fight once a year, then you can. I mean, that's kind of my thing. Is like, dude, you were out with an injury, but you're healthy now. You just fought, dominated, didn't suffer any injury, so fight again. Like, or get a little bit of fan love back. Don't make me have to be from New Jersey or New York to want to defend you. So, but again, man, like, I was surprised by the whole TJ thing. Getting back to Kevin's comment, that's terrible that he's done, or that it appears that like that's going to be a hard one to rebound from. But I would be fine with him just retiring.
Mm.
If what we're going to see is just going to be a shell of what he once was, because he was fun to watch for 4 year span there. It was entertaining as hell, watching what he was doing to
Yeah,
some of
no,
these guys.
I liked him too for a while, and I didn't understand the whole when the PED thing when he did it, because I was he's technically in that Boss Rutan lineage of training with under Ludwig and stuff like that, and we were seeing a lot of that when he on his rise, but then he did that because I guess he just sometimes I guess if you want too much you start to just hurt yourself, and I think this is just more fallout from that, but um
Speaking. Okay, so this is gonna speaking of PEDs. Speaking of the MMA media, shouldn't we be making a bigger deal that Conor McGregor doesn't get tested for drugs anymore, and that he's able to rehab a serious leg break and get ready for movies by taking steroids? Like that's what's happening. And
mm.
he's posting like that's why would you remove yourself? Also, can fighters just remove themselves for like 6 months? Can a fighter be like, dude, I'm gonna do like 3 cycles and I'll catch you back like in 6 months? Like Sterling right now says he's not gonna fight for like 8 months. Could he just tell the UFC like, nah, I mean, dude, I need a couple months off of drug testing. I'm gonna go on vacation. I don't want to take any, no drug testing for me for like 2 months, and then I'll come back into the pool, which I'm supposed to be in for what, 6 more months. So that puts me in about June. I don't want to no drug tests for November, December, January, or February. And again, Aljamain Sterling, if for some crazy reason you're listening, I'm not saying you're on PEDs. I do not believe that is the case, but I do believe that's what
I'll fuck him up for you, Al, if
McGregor.
he's
Well, that's what McGregor is doing. I mean, listen, Anderson Silva tested positive for PEDs after the fight,
I
coming off of the
gotta.
leg break. There's a
You know how
reason
many
why.
times I talk to Aljamain Sterling, and every time I see him again, he doesn't remember me. So I don't know why I defend him so much, but again, it's just because like Matt Serra, we had Ron on the podcast a couple weeks ago. That was so it's like that weird, it's just a weird 6 degrees of like jujitsu separation, I guess. That I'm like, I got to support the guy because he's technically, you know, connected to this Northeast jujitsu culture here in New York and New Jersey. But yeah. But I think we caught up on everything we had to catch up on,
Yeah,
right?
we got our rants out. Well, next week we'll have some more stuff to look forward to, because we get the I gotta figure out the days, but I think we got, like you mentioned, the Bellator event coming up in a week or two. So we'll have a chance.
November 18th, I believe it
I was
was.
18, so a little bit for. Yeah. Good night to you too, Kevin. Thank you for listening. Appreciate the comment.
Yes, sir.
Um,
Thank you. I forget what the name of his newsletter is, but it's like what's your something about because he does physical therapy and
Let
he
me do
write
the let me do our closeout, and if you post it
yeah.
in time, we'll get it out. So fans can
Mm.
check out the show at Combat Hour on Twitter, Coast to Coast Combat Hour on Instagram. Follow me, Matthew Hawkins, at MMA Hawk 21 on Twitter and Instagram. Follow Ed at Carbazol on Twitter, Carbeerzol on Instagram, and Old Head Carb on Twitch. Kevin, you're on the countdown.
Oh well, I mean, before we close it
Post
out,
it. We can always let it next week
I always
of
share it on
your
Twitter
newsletter,
anyway. But
or we'll share it
anyway,
on Twitter. So good
it's
night, everyone.
November 18th is Nemkov Anderson 2 Beltor 288. Just because you had mentioned it. But yeah, good night,
So it'll be an
everybody.
extra week, but good night, everybody. Thanks for listening.